Hey bestie, it's B. Welcome back. You know, it completely dawned on me that ever since my channel grew, I haven't actually done an updated get to know me, and things have changed, so we need to catch up. It's not often that I get to just catch up with you guys and answer a lot of frequently asked questions, so I have some for you and we're gonna get into it. So since there were so many questions, I tried to pick the ones that were most asked and the ones that I get the most DMs about. So let's get into it. So what did I do before YouTube? I have kind of had this corporate to creative pipeline. I used to work for a healthcare company in Kansas City when I first graduated, like right after I graduated, and I did that for a couple of years. Then I went from that company to a marketing agency. From the marketing agency, I went and I started working for an influencer in the area, helping her with her boutique. And after that, I just made the cold jump right into being a full-time creator. And that's what I've been doing since then. I actually just did a podcast episode detailing more about my transition from corporate to creative and each step in between. It is the 13th episode of my podcast, or is it 14th? Anyways, I'll put the episode right here for you on my podcast, The Delusional Diaries. You can check it out. It is titled From 6 Jobs to 6 Figures, and it'll give you more insight on how I made the jump realistically and also financially, emotionally, all the things. How long did it take you to get to where you are now? So I would say, let's see, I started in 2018. So however long that is how long it's taken to get me to this point. I went full time in 2018. However, I would say like 2017 is when I started to dabble in actual social media and content creation, but I still was not full time. So it's taken quite a bit of time, literal years, and a lot of patience and a lot of consistency. I cannot relate, and I say this all the time, to overnight success. For me, slow and steady has won the race and will continue to win the race, and I'm perfectly fine with that. How did you go from corporate to creative? So while we're on the topic, I can give you a little bit of details, but I do encourage you to check out that podcast episode that I referenced earlier. But I will say that I had a strategy in mind, okay? I took baby steps from the corporate background to getting into the creative side. So for me at the time, a small jump that was really beneficial was going from this healthcare industry, which was way off from what I wanted to do, making a little jump into a marketing agency. The marketing agency was kind of tied to the healthcare company because we were doing marketing for healthcare. So I was able to find these little connections and shift completely into different industries. And then from the marketing company, I was able to go to work for the influencer, which was a little bit easier because I just straight up like messaged her and I was like, let me work for you. So it's really just finding your strengths in whatever industry and pivoting closer and closer to what you want to do. And that's what worked for me. And then finally I was ready to rip the Band-Aid off and just do it all myself. And that was a really cool decision, a scary decision, but it was really cool. And there's way more details on that in my podcast. Can you share more of the struggles, negativity, limiting beliefs with becoming a content creator? You see everything online, especially, seems like it's so instant and viral immediately, and that's so not realistic for a majority of us that are doing this. So I think part of the negative side for me was that I felt like I was just chugging along so slow. And it's like, I mean, you have to spend hours creating content, especially when you don't have the money or time or resources to bring other people in to help you. It's very discouraging at times, and you're doing it just hoping that one day it'll pay off. But I'm a big believer that if you put the work in, the work has to pay off. So that is what kept me going. But it is a lot of just pushing yourself through it. That's really all I can say. You have to tell yourself that you're not meant to rush things. This is a beautiful process. You need to learn to enjoy it and appreciate every moment of the journey because it's all really important. And when it's supposed to happen for you, it will happen for you, whatever that means. But I think comparison can be really hard because people can make social media what they want. They can show us the sides of their lives that they want. And you know, you're comparing yourself to everyone's best version, and it can be really unhealthy. So you have to get really comfortable with you and just understand that you are not meant to be like everyone else. Your superpower is that you're you, and if you would just learn to love that, things would work out a lot better for you. Okay, do I have advice for my younger self? You know, I don't. And I'm not meaning this in a pretentious way, but I think everything that I went through when I was younger, I needed to go through it to come out and be who I am today. So I don't necessarily have advice for my younger self. If anything, I should be taking advice from her because that bitch got me here, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I feel like if anything, I would just remind her that just because she feels like she doesn't fit in, that doesn't mean that's a bad thing. I think I struggled a lot with wanting to be so liked and accepted among my peers, especially, that I kind of would become a chameleon. And I think my advice would be that people might like you more if you were just yourself. But I was so not sure of who I was that I just adapted to all of my environments. But at the same time, I don't regret the way that I was, because now I feel really sure about myself because of how I used to shield who I really was. And, you know, I wouldn't be here without her. So it is what it is. What breed is your dog? Bubba, what are you? So that's Theodore, aka Bubby, aka Bubby Schnubby, aka Bubby Schnubby Dubby. They want to know what you are. Do you want to tell them? He's black. Okay, no, he is, half poodle and half Australian Shepherd, which is Aussie Doodle. He is my little chicken nugget, my petunia, the light of my life, my son. I carried him for 9 months and I'm obsessed with him. I really am. Don't ever ask me if I would choose you or the dog, because you're not gonna like the answer. I would choose the dog. But he is my best friend. Bubby knows everything about me, more than any of you will. And he's so good about just gauging me. Like when I'm sad, I don't even have to say it. He's just like on my heels. He'll just like lay his head on my stomach. It's just like he knows. You know, dogs really are the best. So we love him. And if it weren't for Bubby, I don't know that Bria would be doing content to this day. I feel like that dog is a big reason why I push along, even though he's licking his balls right now while I'm trying to give him a heartfelt speech. Okay, honestly, you're gonna have to stop. You're gonna have to stop. Hey, I don't like that. You're gonna get me demonetized with that behavior. Outside of him being fucking rude, he's a gem, I promise. He's not acting like it right now. What do you do for fun? Good question. I'll let you know when I find out. No, I'm trying to get better about that, actually. I feel like I'm being too serious. I'm taking life too serious. No, but some things I like to do for fun, honestly, is being outside, especially when the weather's nice. It's been 80 fucking degrees in Dallas, popping off climate change. That is not cute. But the sun, I'm not mad about it. It's really good for me mentally. I literally moved out of the Midwest because I needed to be somewhere that I could be outside a little bit more. So I love just spending time in nature, walking, listening to music, hanging out with my sister, like whatever. I also just like to chill with my family, like turn my brain off. I'll literally just go over to my parents, eat all their food, lay on their couch and dip. Like that's fun for me. Should I have more hobbies? I think so. I just discovered that I like to make flower arrangements. If you saw my last vlog, you know that's like a new thing that I'm trying to pick up. So I'm gonna keep playing with that. Like maybe Bestie B will send you a flower arrangement. I don't know. I love going to the movies. I really appreciate the arts. You know, if you have been around, you know that I've been working with cameras and media since I was 15. And so one thing I did in the arts program that I was in at my high school was really learn about movies and dissect them. And so I have a deep appreciation for them. When I'm watching a movie, I'm literally like trying to see it from the director's point of view. And I just love to like let my brain tick in that way. It's fun. So AJ and I love going to the movies anytime. And I just like to rest. It's not uncommon that you won't find me just in my bed, maybe in the fetal position, chilling, just turning my brain off, you know? It's nice. So those are some things that I do for fun. How do you stay encouraged and consistent? I have a deep-rooted why. You know, I want to help people. I want to help my family. I want to help strangers I've never met. I want to be a light on this planet, and I think that it's so fulfilling for me to be able to sit down at home and give you guys something that makes you feel good, makes you feel better, and it really helps me to stay consistent, because there are plenty of days where I'm like, why am I doing this? Does anyone even care? You know, there are plenty of times when I don't know, and then I read your comments and I think somebody out there cares, and even if it's just one person, that's enough for me. So I keep you guys in mind, but I also keep in the fact that like I could change my life, I could change my family's life, and I have been doing that, and that is a huge accomplishment for me, to be able to help my loved ones have a life that, you know, they've never experienced and are excited about. So I love that I can do that, and I wouldn't be able to do that if it weren't for you guys, so thank you. A bad habit that I have, clenching my jaw. I have some jaw issues going on. I might have to get like Botox in my masseters, because if you could see the inside of my cheeks, you would know that they're like completely destroyed. I think it's just anxiety from clenching down and biting. So it's a bad habit I'm trying to break, but it's hard to break something that you do while you're sleeping. So that's one. Another one is scrolling before bedtime. Sometimes I'm good about it, sometimes I'm not, but I'm trying to replace that with reading or audiobooks. So I've been doing both of those things, and I'm gonna keep working at it. Is your hair relaxed or natural? My hair is natural. I have not had a chemical relaxer since, gosh, it had to be high school. My hair is just heat damaged. I'm a silk press princess, and that's just what it is. My hair has had years and years of heat, but I do it in a very healthy way. I get my hair done professionally a lot, but before that I would always like wash my hair weekly and use like good quality products so that my hair could handle the amount of heat that I would put on it. But even then, I protect it with heat protectant, and I, you know, just try to take as much care of my hair as possible. I do a lot of conditioning treatments, hydrating treatments, and yeah, I invest in my hair, and in return it gives me the shine and the healthy thickness that I want. So it really comes down to just like how I take care of it. How do you keep your hair healthy and shiny? Kind of the same thing, but also I've learned over the years how to do my hair, how to sleep. I just did a TikTok on how I wrap my hair. I don't really wrap my hair at night, but I have this little technique. You can go to my TikTok to see that video. I use a lot of silk products. I never really lay on like cotton, because that will break off my hair. Yeah, and it comes down to products, like I was saying. So I literally don't really buy like drugstore hair products, and that's not because I'm trying to be like bougie, but it just depends. Like I will do drugstore stuff, but a lot of the times I'm using like salon products on my hair. What was your first job? My first job was at Abercrombie and Fitch. Don't come for me, okay? I was like 15, and I thought I was so fucking cool because they messaged me on Facebook, and this is when Facebook was still new, and they were like, we're looking for models, like Abercrombie models. And you know, like that is the biggest fucking flex. At that time, you know, we were still wearing like Aeropostale polos and American Eagle. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like that was the era for Abercrombie. So when they reached out to me, I was like, abso-fucking-lutely. And I had me making like no money. I think I got a check for like $30. That was like a whole ass paycheck. And I was like, you know, just like living life, loving it. Cause like at the time I had no bills. And I was like, I'm gonna get so much McDonald's with this $30. Yeah, Abercrombie was the first. I didn't stay there very long. I think I worked there for like one Christmas season, and then I was like, this is not worth it. I'm spending, like my parents had to drop me off at North Park Mall, if y'all live here, and I think we spent more money like getting to the mall than me actually working there. But it was a good experience just to kind of like work on a floor and kind of learn some type of skill. I had never really had a job before that, so you know, it's something. Do you have siblings? Yes, I have a brother who just turned 20. He's in college. I have a sister who's 15. She's in high school. So yeah, I am the oldest by a landslide, and that's another TED Talk. I was not an accident. It was just weird timing, and my parents got divorced and they got back together, and they didn't have children with anyone else, but they just took a long little break, and when they got back together, they had my brother and sister. So that's why there's such a spread. How did you choose your major in college? I initially started with journalism. I thought that would be the path for me because I knew that I loved media and stuff, but I'm really glad I didn't do journalism. I think I would have been so miserable talking about politics and just whatever else I'd have to do as a journalist. And I quickly learned that that just didn't feel right to me. So I ended up switching my major to psychology. And I just loved learning about people's minds. I loved learning about behaviors. Still to this day, I have like therapy sessions and I feel like I self-diagnose a little too much because of my very little experience in psychology. But it was very eye-opening, and I think it gave me a lot of perspective and empathy towards humans and how we all act. I don't really think there's bad people. I think there are people who have not healed and hurt people, and it's not an excuse, but it just gives me more empathy as a human to not immediately hate your guts if you are rude. I will probably just look at you and be like, do you have daddy issues or mommy issues? You want a hug? I get it. What personal goals do you have? I think a lot of my goals right now, crazy enough, are just centered around my wellness, like my health, my mindset. I think I've proven to myself at this point within my career that if I want to do something, I'm capable. But when it comes to myself, I feel like sometimes I'm still at war with me. And my biggest goals for me are just to be a happy individual that is like calm and not fucking stressed all the time. And so right now, a lot of that has to do with my mindset. So I'm in therapy. I'm doing a lot of the work as I always have been, but I feel like as I get older, you know, things just change and your perspective changes and the way you think kind of changes, and you have to remember how to ground yourself, and it is really hard to do. Especially when, I think in my case, the hardest thing is kind of being like someone in my family who's like breaking these generational patterns. Also having a presence online can be like very overwhelming, not in a bad way, but I think it's a lot of pressure because like sometimes I don't think I'm qualified to give you guys advice because I feel like I'm struggling, but I think that's also what makes us, that's the beauty of our relationship, is that I'm telling you something from literal experience. So I have to remember that, and I have to remember that you guys don't expect me to be perfect. I think our honest conversations are one of the best parts of my platform. I think the whole gist for me right now is to put less pressure on myself to be good enough for everyone and just be good enough for me and enjoy what I've built and created and stop trying to self-sabotage it. And I'm sure I'll have a whole new chapter of videos when I figure that out for you guys, but taking it one day at a time. What was your backup plan if YouTube didn't work out? I honestly didn't have one, and I'm not trying to say that in a way of like, I knew I had it in the bag, because I didn't know that I had it in the bag. It was really that I just knew I couldn't count on anyone, but I could count on me. I could bet on me, and my success was entirely up to me. So if I wanted to make content, and here's the thing, like I wanted to do content because I love it. If I never made money from content, I would still make content. So that's how I knew that it wasn't just like a thing I was doing because I wanted a bunch of people to follow me or, you know, whatever. It was bigger than that. And I also wanted to utilize it to change my life and make things easier for me and my family. So, you know, for me, I didn't really give myself an option of it not working out. I just knew I had this gut feeling that like, if I just do something that I'm obsessed with, the rest will work itself out, and it did. I mean, you guys know, like when I wasn't making money, I was still finding creative ways to make money. I would freelance, I would pitch myself to companies and ask them if I could help them with their social media. I DoorDash. I always figured it out so that at the end of the day, I could do something I loved. And that's why I tell you guys, like, it's really up to you. And in that episode that I just did on my podcast, 6 Jobs to 6 Figures, I talked exactly about the mindset that I had in terms of making money when I wasn't making money. I always paid my bills. I was never late, but I was completely unemployed, and I just figured it out because I started to have this mindset around money that you can be creative with making money, and you don't have to be limited to this 9-to-5 mindset. And that's what got me through that period until I was able to actually make money off of social media. So again, comes down to mindset, and I didn't want to have any other job, so I did what I had to do. What kind of child was Bria? Well, you know, I mentioned that I didn't have siblings until I was 9 years old. So for almost a decade, I was an only child. And I think that that made me really good at talking to myself. I'm not even kidding. When people ask how I talk to a camera and it's so easy, it's because I did this as a kid. I used to have like an entire show. I probably was doing YouTube videos before YouTube, like in my mirror. Like I was my best friend. And I think that I was a bit isolated. My mom says that I didn't like if there was a function and there's like a kids table, I'm trying to like shimmy my way to the adults table. Like I could not relate to kids like that. But I had like a couple ride or dies. Like my cousin Madeline, she's like one of the only people I grew up playing with, and I had very few friends, but I was always like sociable in school. I was well behaved. I just didn't have any issues really like in school. Good student. Teachers didn't really complain about me. If anything, they said I talked too much, but I made a career out of it. So was it really that bad? Okay, it was. But yeah, I think pretty much how I am now is very similar to how I was then. Just living in my own world, talking to myself, doing my own thing, and live, laugh, loving. So that's me in a nutshell. I'm glad that we could do this little video. It's so fun. And if there's anything else you want to know about me, let me know in the comments. I might do a video in the future. You know, every 6 months or so we can do something like this because we're always getting new besties in the building. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell. And I'll see you guys next week.